everyone is here. That's right, today we're putting every single Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter into a battle to see who would win the Squid Game. So choose your fighter and see how far they make it.
Welcome to the Squid Game. We're excited for everyone to play.
Okay, today's very long roster of players includes Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Power Suit Samus, Dark Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, Pikachu, Luigi, Ness, Captain Falcon, Jigglypuff, Peach, Daisy, Bowser, Ice Climber, Sheik, Zelda, Dr. Mario, Pichu, Falco, Marth, Lucina, Young Link, Ganondorf, Mewtwo, Roy, Chrom, Mr. Game & Watch, Meta Knight, Pit, Dark Pit, Zero Suit Samus, Wario, Snake, Ike, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, Diddy Kong, Lucas, Sonic, King Dedede, Olimar, Lucario, Rob, Toon Link, Wolf, Villager, Mega Man, Wii Fit Trainer, Rosalina, and Luma, Little Mac, Greninja, Me Brawler, Me Gunner, Me Sword Fighter, Palutena, Pac-Man, Robin, Shulk, Bowser Jr., Duck Hunt, Ryu, Ken, Cloud, Corrin, Bayonetta, Inkling, Ridley, Simon, Richter, King K. Rool, Isabelle, Incineroar, Piranha Plant, Joker, Hero, Banjo, and Kazooie, Terry Byleth, Min Min, Steve, Sephiroth, Pyra, Mithra, Kazuya, and Sora. And honestly, 89 is a really incomplete number. So how about we add in some of the assist trophies as well? Let's see. Shadow the Hedgehog, Knuckles, Chef Kawasaki, Nightmare Wizard, Mother Brain, Metroid, Girahim, Bomberman, Shovel Knight, Guile, and let's see, we have one more invitation to send out. Who should get it? Maybe someone who's always overlooked, who would really appreciate it, a character who everybody loves. Oh, I know. Navi, or Slippy Toad. I'm just kidding. Get in here, Waluigi.
The following are the ground rules in this Squid Game. Number 1, no outside allies or sidekicks. 2, no outside weapons, with the sole exception of any equipment needed to survive. Number 3, no magic. 4, natural abilities are allowed. The first game is red light, green light. You may move forward when it shouts green light, stop when it shouts red light. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated.
Speed, composure, and general athletic ability will be your best friends in this round, as well as calmness under pressure. So with that, let's get to the characters who pass with flying colors. Now, considering all these characters are in a fighting game, in some capacity at least, agility won't be an issue for any of them. There are some slow characters who'd need to work overtime though, like Ganondorf, King K. Rool, Pyra, Incineroar, and King Dedede. But all things considered, while they're slow in the context of Smash Bros, the fact that they can go toe-to-toe with much faster characters tells us they have enough skills to get through this round without a problem. The only one who might have trouble keeping a cool head is Dedede, but with Meta Knight and Kirby, he'll have some friends to motivate him to keep a cool head. Then you have the fast characters, including Sonic, Fox, Pikachu, Pichu, and Sheik. Just to name a few. Jigglypuff is safe too, because despite being one of the slowest characters on the ground, she's one of the fastest in midair. But before we get to our eliminations, I'd like to talk about today's sponsor, PIA VPN. If you enjoy watching our Who Would Win Squid Game series, you probably watch a lot of Netflix too, and other streaming services like Disney Plus and Hulu. But did you know that all of these streaming services have different libraries of available content based on the geographical location of where you are? That means there's tons of content available all around the world that's region blocked here in the US and vice versa. But you can get around this super easy by using PIA VPN. See, all I have to do is change my server to another country, and boom, these shows instantly become available. And it's actually pretty crazy just how much stuff there is that's region restricted that you can unlock instantly with PIA VPN. And on top of that, having a VPN is a great added security precaution to keep yourself and your data safe from hackers, internet service providers, and other nefarious threats online. Connecting to a public internet connection without a VPN is kind of like writing your passwords on a post-it note and leaving it on your desk. It can leave your passwords and other sensitive data exposed to nefarious entities. But PIA VPN hides your IP address and safeguards your data through an encrypted tunnel. This is why whenever I travel, if I have to use public Wi-Fi at an airport, a hotel, or a coffee shop, I always use a VPN. Plus, as a gamer, PIA VPN can protect you from DDoS attacks, help you avoid bandwidth throttling, and give you the ability to switch your game servers to maximize your connection speed. And the best part is, PIA VPN has a killer deal for our audience. Go to PIAVPN PrivateVPN.com/OneUpBinge and you'll get an 83% discount on private internet access VPN. That's just $2.03 per month, and they'll even throw in 4 months for free. Thank you PIA VPN for sponsoring us today, helping us unlock more streaming content online, and for keeping our data safe. Really, given how much these characters have been through, there aren't a ton of losers in the first round. But sadly, there are a couple of unlucky ducks, or one rather. The Duck Hunt duo has become the hunted in this round. Unlike any other character in this roster, these two just really are regular animals, with the only real difference being their cartoony animations. We could see somebody, probably DDD, tripping, and that smug dog just laughing about it, only for it to be met with a swift elimination. Poor Duck chose the wrong crowd.
Players eliminated.
And the other losers in this round are the Ice Climbers. Like Duck Hunt, this duo was screwed over by its more careless member. When Nana isn't being controlled by the player, she has a habit of not being super smart. We hate to eliminate these little guys, but we could definitely see her getting caught way behind Popo and trying to catch up during a red light.
Players eliminated. 98 out of 100 players remain. Let's move on to the next game, Honeycomb. Players must cut out the shape from their cookies. Those who break their cookie or run out of time will be eliminated.
Patience, steady hands, and artistic skills will come in handy here, as will dexterity and general resourcefulness. Olimar specializes in working with small creatures, and not only that, he himself is a small creature. With both of these skills combined, plus the motivation of having a wife, children, and hundreds of Pikmin to get home to, he'll pass this round without a sweat. And we'll give the same bonus to other little guys too, like Pichu, Pikachu, Kirby, and Jigglypuff, who also fall into that just a little guy category. Then we have the jack of all trades characters, with a variety of skills. Mario is probably the most obvious in this category. He has entire spin-offs based around his talents for go-karting, party games, sports, and even archaeology. That makes his friends like Luigi, Peach, and Yoshi equally likely to pass. There's also DK and Diddy Kong, both of whom can fire a gun, and among other things, they're confirmed to be able to use a Switch console, and in Diddy's case, to play the electric guitar. Weapons experts like Fox, Falco, Wolf, and Samus are safe here too. Not just for their ability to use their hands with precision, but for the sheer amount of danger they've faced head-on before. The space pirates, Ridley and Mother Brain, are in good standing for the same reason. Ridley can fly spaceships and is confirmed to have human intelligence, and since he answers to Mother Brain, that means both of them are good for the moment. And even though a volleyball isn't a weapon that would help in this round, Wii Fit Trainer's deep breathing and cool head would help her pass. And then we have the most obvious winners, sword users. Link and all of his variants are able to pass this round by sheer skill, as are all of the Fire Emblem reps, Meta Knight, Cloud, Sora, Sephiroth, and Mii Sword Fighter, even if some of their swords are a bit more unconventional. We'll even throw Hero into this category since even without those busted spells, they're pretty skillful. But our first elimination is Mii Gunner. With only one hand to be effectively used this round, she's already at a disadvantage, and unlike Samus, she presumably doesn't have years of intergalactic space battles to make up for that handicap.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Metroids not only don't have hands, but this one in particular was caught terrorizing some of the soldiers, and even the front man wasn't twisted enough to let that go on for long. Since this isn't the baby.
The baby.
Let's go.
Samus has no reason to help it out, but she might be nice and help the guards take it down. While Steve's hands are a bit oddly shaped for this challenge, we decided to let him pass this round since he's known for his skillful mining and crafting skills. Pac-Man, on the other hand, he not only has those cartoonishly large gloves in the way, but he's only really known for eating. It'd be hard to resist eating the yellow circle in his hands, let alone holding and carving it with such precision. So it's time for him to say goodnight.
Player eliminated.
But Bomberman has an even harder time. He has no fingers, and his little nubs are best known for materializing bombs out of thin air. Neither of those are good for this game, so he's out too.
Player eliminated.
And the last elimination in this round is Dr. Mario. Usually, being a doctor would be a perk in this game, but Dr. Mario just throws pills into a bottle full of viruses and asks you to do the work. So we can't help but feel like he's a bit out of his element here. Looks like he won't be paying off his patients' lawsuits today after all.
Player, you have been eliminated. 93 players remain. It's time for our next game, six-legged pentathlon. The rules are as follows. Players will split up into groups of 5, tie their legs together, and move in tandem around a track. Every 10 meters, one player will play a mini-game until it is completed, with each member playing once. The goal is to complete all games in the allotted time, repeating each one until it is complete.
So here are the mini-games. Diaki, throw a paper tile at the ground to flip over another paper tile. Flying stone, throw a small stone at another small stone and knock it down. Gongi, a traditional game of Korean jacks. Spinning top, and jeggy. Kick a jeggy in the air 5 times in a row, kind of like hacky sack. Balance, composure, and general gaming prowess are very important here. But arguably the most important thing is teamwork, and the ability to get yourself onto a good team. But some characters won't need to think long about who to team up with. Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, and Yoshi have gone on numerous adventures together, so they'll quickly team up, figure out who should play which game, and make it through no problem. The same can be said for Kirby, King Dedede, and Meta Knight. Sure, they've had their share of disagreements, but they've been unambiguously friendly for years now, and can always work together when it matters most. Of course, they'll still need 2 more teammates, and we're gonna go with Samus, who has canonically met Kirby in Dreamland 3, and Zero Suit Samus, the alternate version of Samus nobody is questioning for some reason. I guess it was only a matter of time before we inevitably brought that up, so let's also talk about the Links, Zelda, and Sheik. Given the stuff they've seen across all of their games, having multiple versions of themselves in the same place actually wouldn't set Link and Zelda off too badly, and it might actually make teamwork relatively easy. Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard would also have no problem working together, since they literally do just that for their final smash. Plus, being highly trained Pokemon, they're used to taking orders anyway. Some characters might be motivated to team up based on their morals or overall motivations. Shovel Knight and Sora are both selfless heroes who work for the good of others, and we feel like they'd be willing to take young Ness and Lucas under their wings, as well as the slightly less young Little Mac. Regardless of age, the point is that these guys would be ready to go to bat for the most vulnerable players. Similarly, players like Shadow, Bayonetta, Sonic, and Knuckles are equal parts heroic and just trying to survive. They would prioritize survival while still having goodwill towards others, and have a good chance to thrive in this round. And then of course, some of these characters are just sickos. Ganon, Girahim, Ridley, Dark Samus, and Mother Brain are all purely evil characters only concerned with making it one step closer to victory. If they have to team up, they'll only do it with villains strong enough to help them win. And finally, although they're nowhere near as evil, Bowser and Bowser Jr. are in a similar boat. Only they'd be more likely to bully some other players into teaming up with them. But you know how this game works. With teams needing 5 members, there are a few stragglers left without a full team. And the first to go is the Nightmare Wizard. Because, frankly, this guy's so shady and creepy looking that even most of the villains wouldn't want anything to do with him. He'd either afflict his teammates with nightmares or keep them in the darkness, neither of which make him much of a people person.
Player eliminated.
Olimar, unfortunately, was accidentally run over by Rob, who panicked and brought him to the guards for medical attention. Unfortunately, Rob's good nature would only seal his fate here too.
Players eliminated.
But actually, now that we think about it, even though Banjo and Kazooie represent one spot on the roster, they'd count as 2 people for this game, as are Rosalina and Luma, all of whom are likable enough to find a team, which leaves us with a couple more stragglers. Mr. Game & Watch is down for the count.
Player eliminated.
While he has an impressive skill set, he just doesn't move quickly enough to be a safe bet for this game. And lastly, Villager's cold, vacant stare was so merciless that even Ganondorf was freaked out over how menacing this guy could be.
Player, you have been eliminated. 88 players remain. Our next game is Mingle. Here are the rules. Players will stand on a rotating platform in the center of a large circular room. At any given moment, a number will be called out, at which point players have 30 seconds to get into groups of said number and secure a room for themselves. Any player who does not find a room with the correct number of players will be eliminated.
Speed, composure, and ruthlessness are your best friends in this round. Which characters are actually fast enough to get a room, and who would actually do what it takes to get there? Well, Wario and Waluigi definitely stand out in both of these categories. Wario has his signature shoulder bash to get into a room, and Waluigi can just curb stomp stomp opponents into the ground. They're not pure evil, but they're certainly willing to bully other players to save their skins. Kirby has accepted King Dedede's generous offer of a piggyback ride, letting the king take the lead like in those neat little Kirby 64 segments. Dedede's not the fastest around, but his strength would enable him to find a room anyway. And with a kingdom full of Waddle Dees to get back home to, he has every reason to fight for his right to return. Meta Knight is both extremely fast and strong, so if push comes to shove, he could always just yeet Kirby and Dedede into the nearest room before time is up. Similarly, Knuckles and Sonic could team up as a nearly unstoppable duo of strength and speed. Unfortunately, not everyone is saved by having a good heart. Some particularly chivalrous characters like Shovel Knight, Crom Marth, and Lucina are out precisely because of their good nature. None of them would be willing to save themselves while there were children and animals in the running who needed protection. We could see them dying to protect their teammates from the real monsters left in the running.
Players eliminated.
Sora is another purely good character who wouldn't be willing to hurt anyone to secure his place in the next round.
Player, you have been eliminated.
And we all know that Ike fights for his friends, so he'd be willing to go down with dignity here too.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Finally, we can't ignore the Mario gang. Luigi would be an easy loser in this round if it weren't for his courageous brother and girlfriend keeping him safe. The teamwork between the Mario Bros, the princesses, and Yoshi would get them far, but let's be real. As soon as the number 2 comes up at the end of the round, the princesses and the plumbers are teaming up in pairs of 2, and Mario's gonna yeet poor Yoshi into oblivion as a sacrifice. Poor Yoshi, you deserve so much better.
Player eliminated.
Then, purely evil characters like Ridley, Girahim, Dark Samus, and Ganondorf would make it through this round pretty easily. But not all of them are safe. Specifically, Mother Brain is out.
Player eliminated.
See, Ridley figured out by this point that there was basically no reason to take orders when the real ones in charge were the guys behind the game. So he'd retract his allegiance and keep moving towards his goal of total domination. With big bads like those 4 in the running, not to mention some lesser evils like Sephiroth, Bowser, and K. Rool, the smaller, more unobservant players might be in trouble. Chef Kawasaki, Terry, and Piranha Plant are out for precisely that reason.
Players eliminated.
As is poor little Pichu.
Player eliminated.
Another loser in this round is one of the lightest characters, Jigglypuff. She's literally known as the balloon Pokemon, and her weight reflects that, meaning she wouldn't have the strength to push through bigger players into a safe room.
Player eliminated.
And next to go is Falco.
Player eliminated.
After he and Fox made an uneasy alliance with Wolf, the latter wasn't about to give up his chance to move on during that 2 round. Stealing Falco's spot at the last second, Wolf won both the game and Fox's wrath. Banjo-Kazooie are a case where it's not only likely they could get separated from each other, it's even more likely that Kazooie would antagonize the competition, which would be a pretty big mistake against players like Bowser and Incineroar.
Player eliminated.
Speaking of separated, without Joker's Arsene or Hero's spells, they're both playing on a serious handicap, which means it's time for them to say bye-bye.
Players eliminated.
Among the last losers in this round are Mii Brawler and Mii Sword Fighter, both of whom are outclassed by several other members of the ensemble cast.
Players eliminated.
Finally, Zero Suit Samus knew that her power-suited counterpart would have a better chance at victory, so she tossed Pikachu into her arms and wished her luck, giving herself up so that her doppelganger would have a chance at survival.
Player eliminated. 68 players remain. Congratulations to everyone who made it this far. Now it's time for everyone to get some rest. Lights out.
They will not, in fact, be getting some rest. This is where players are able to vote on whether or not they want to continue the games after each round, wearing a patch that confirms which side each of them is on. Tensions are high, alliances are straining, and people are this close to snapping, so it's time for a good old-fashioned brawl. One could even call it a melee. And since this is an unofficial bonus round, it's also going to be the one time where powers and the like are allowed, which means some people may want to hide. Now, it's pretty obvious who the heavy hitters are. Some of them, like Bowser, Rosalina, King Dedede, and Donkey Kong, would survive out of a need to protect their friends. Others, like K. Rool, Ridley, Dark Samus, and Girahim, would simply enjoy the chance to unleash some carnage. Ridley in particular seems hungry, which means Wario would be a choice target for him. Thankfully, Wario's got his old buddy Waluigi to rely on, so as long as they stick together in that hiding spot Wario found, there shouldn't be any any issue.
Oh look, it is I,
Wario.
out here in the open.
With fights breaking out and Ridley straight up eating a dude, there's gonna be a lot of carnage tonight, which means a lot of victims.
Player eliminated.
Luigi, in a moment of surprisingly reckless bravery, died while protecting Daisy from the terrifying Girahim. While he lost the battle, he bought Daisy enough time to hide.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Dark Samus targeted Ness, Lucas, Pyra, and Mithra, envying their magical powers for herself. After wearing them down enough, she would absorb them, effectively eliminating the group.
Players eliminated.
She also targeted Samus and Bayonetta, both of whom would jump into action against her, managing to weaken her enough to where Samus could take her down before anyone else got hurt, unfortunately at the cost of her own life.
Players eliminated.
Knuckles and Isabelle fought well, but were tragically caught in the crossfire of some of the flashier fights. As did Wii Fit Trainer, who frankly, stupidly, tried to convince the fighters to take a deep breath and calm down. But I guess she meant well, I guess.
Players eliminated.
One of those fights would be between Shadow and Dark Pit because there can only be one edgy doppelganger. While both of them are crazy strong, Shadow is just on a whole nother level of not just power, but sheer aura that Dark Pit just can't compete with.
Player eliminated.
And speaking of Pit, Palutena is out too, because Sephiroth wanted to make sure there was only one god left in the running. Ironically, despite not being a full-on god, he absolutely crushes her in a fight. Even though she's immortal, she'd be tired out enough to be effectively eliminated. I'm sure you know this from earlier, but Girahim has been on a bit of a rampage today. While Link made it through the night, his less experienced counterparts, Toon Link and Young Link, weren't so lucky.
Players eliminated.
He also tried to take down Zelda, but Ganondorf shut him down at that point. Girahim made the mistake of messing with the Mastermind's plans, which proved to be his downfall. And the final eliminations for this round are the ones who joined in the big fight, but weren't strong enough to finish it. Captain Falcon, Roy, Squirtle, Charizard, Ivysaur, Little Mac, Robin, Ken, Steve, Simon, Min Min, and Richter.
Good morning, players. After last night's brawl, 40 players remain. It's time for the next game, Hide and Seek. Players will be separated into two teams, Hiders Blue and Seekers Red. Seekers will be given a knife with the requirement of killing at least one hider within the time limit. Hiders will be given one of 3 keys, gaining access to various doors and hiding places throughout the arena. They must either find a 3-keyed exit before time is up, or simply stay alive for 30 minutes.
For this game, roles are selected randomly, and players have a few minutes to mutually agree to swap if they so desire. With that said, here's how we think the teams would pan out. The hiders include Mario, Link, Kirby, Peach, Daisy, Fox, Zelda, Ganondorf, Mewtwo, Pit, Snake, Sonic, Rosalina and Luma, Greninja, Shulk, Corrin, Byleth, Shadow, Waluigi, and Guile. And today's Seekers include DK, Pikachu, Bowser, Bowser Jr., Sheik, Meta Knight, Diddy Kong, King Dedede, Lucario, Wolf, Mega Man, Ryu, Cloud, Bayonetta, Inkling, Ridley, King K. Rool, Incineroar, Sephiroth, and Kazuya. The hiders will want stealth on their side, but if they run into a Seeker, they'll either need the speed to outrun them or the strength to defend themselves. Seekers will need strength and speed on their side for obvious reasons, but also the brutality required to kill someone. It might be strange that we've assigned some heroic characters to be Seekers, particularly Meta Knight and King Dedede. Thankfully, both of them have strategies that won't crush their moral codes. Meta Knight would wait patiently for another Seeker to be killed in self-defense, then challenge whoever slayed them, since they would have a weapon at that point. That leads us into the fight between Fox and Wolf, which was a pretty close one, but in the end it was Fox whose training and level-headedness allowed him to take down Wolf and avenge Falco. Unfortunately for Fox, Wolf was only the appetizer. The main course was a duel with Meta Knight, and while he's using a significantly smaller sword than usual, that won't stop him from defeating Fox with relative ease.
Players eliminated.
As for King Dedede, he'd be most likely to fight the most evil hider left in the running, Ganondorf. And as strong as Ganon is, most of his strongest feats tend to rely on legendary weapons and or godlike transformations, neither of which are on the table here. On the other hand, King Dedede has the power to consistently rival Kirby and has worked intensely hard to become stronger, to the point where just tripping and falling is enough to send most of this game's cast flying. That's not to mention how he fought what was effectively an army of enormous wild animals in Forgotten Land, by himself, already tired from battle. Look, we're really trying not to let our Dedede bias shine through so much, but come on, man. It's not my fault that they made him so perfect.
Player eliminated.
Now, for those wondering why Ganon was a hider in the first place, that's because he was planning ahead. He figured that if he was a hider, he could potentially take down some of the Seekers, like Ridley and Bowser, for instance. Seekers can't target each other, after all. This is where Daisy falls in an attempt to beat Bowser back and protect Mario and Peach. While she succeeded in the latter, Bowser overpowered her pretty easily.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Then there's Ridley, who's willing to kill whatever he gets his claws on. Rosalina figured being a hider was the wise decision. While she's strong enough to be a Seeker, nobody would be heartless enough to kill or eat a baby star, right? Yeah, no. Someone definitely would.
Player, you have been eliminated.
And naturally, Ridley wouldn't stop there. He'd take down Corrin, Byleth, and Shulk.
Players eliminated.
Each of whom were at a disadvantage without their signature weapons. This would be a ruthless tactical move, not just because he'd be eliminating hiders. He'd also be screwing over some fellow Seekers, particularly K. Rool, Kazuya, and Incineroar.
Players eliminated.
And of course, as funny as it would be for Waluigi to win it all, Sephiroth just couldn't pass up the chance to duel against the legendary man in purple. He was underwhelmed, honestly.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Following a similar strategy to Meta Knight, Cloud, Ryu, and Lucario were determined to challenge worthy opponents. Ryu won his fight with Guile, but Cloud and Lucario weren't quite as lucky against Link and Mewtwo, respectively.
Players eliminated.
Now, the clock is ticking, and Bowser Jr. is one of several Seekers who hasn't found a victim. In a moment of pure kindness, Mario offers one of his 99 lives so Jr. can live on. A sacrifice that might make the Koopa King rethink his morals. But honestly, the audacity to do that after just eliminating Yoshi, the level of disrespect is just on another level.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Diddy Kong accepted a similar bargain with Pit, but Donkey Kong mistook Pit as a threat to his little buddy and proceeded to beat him to death. But thankfully for Diddy, Snake happened to be nearby, and his face looked particularly maulable today.
Player eliminated.
And the last Seeker to succeed in this round was Bayonetta, who had mistaken Shadow for a demon and dealt with him accordingly.
Player, you have been eliminated. 17 players remain. It's time for the next game. Marbles. You will play the game of your choice with your partner. The player to take all 10 marbles wins. The loser will be eliminated.
You can play a game of luck or a game of skill. You can play fair or you can play dirty. But one thing is for sure, whoever you're teamed up with is gonna have to die in order for you to live. With that said, let's look at the pairs. First up, Link versus Zelda. Protecting Zelda is one of Link's main motivations in life, so he's definitely down for the count.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Even if he'd have to think pretty hard to figure out how to self-sabotage, the amount of puzzles he constantly has to solve means Link could ensure the princess lived on. Then we get to Kirby versus King Dedede. Dedede got jealous when Kirby was about to team up with Meta Knight, insisting that he should play with his arch frenemy, and totally not just because he was terrified of playing with anyone else. Upon realizing the game's true nature, Dedede would pitch a game that seems like an easy win for him, only for him to sabotage himself at the last minute.
Player, you have been eliminated.
It's sad to see him go, but I doubt bullets could do in the Great King. They'd only motivate his arch frenemy to get some vengeance in the coming rounds. Peach versus Bayonetta. Bayonetta is a much more morally gray character than most of the heroes left in the game. While Peach isn't the type who'd be eager to kill someone, she does have a kingdom of toads to get home to, so there's some strong motivation on her end as well. But unfortunately for her, Bayonetta always seems to have some tricks up her sleeve, and while she wouldn't cheat, she also wouldn't leave a game to chance when her life depended on it. So Peach is eliminated.
Player eliminated.
Mewtwo versus Greninja. Mewtwo is a psychic type, so in a game of manipulation, Greninja just pulled the short straw today.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Then we get to Sonic versus Ryu. These two are both competitive, kind-hearted heroes, so they got along right from the beginning. Unfortunately, Ryu didn't count on Sonic being an Olympic-level athlete with such a variety of skills.
Player, you have been eliminated.
But in his defense, I don't know why anyone would count on a hedgehog being any of those things. Donkey Kong versus Diddy Kong, and come on, this one is just cruel. Of course Donkey Kong would sacrifice himself so his little buddy could live another day.
Player, you have been eliminated.
I hate sad matchups like this, so let's move on to Bowser versus Bowser Jr. Come on! This one's even sadder. Look, it's fine. Bowser has survived being submerged in lava every couple of years for, like, forever.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Also, Bowser Jr. canonically knows how to bring him back from the dead, as we saw in the original New Super Mario Bros. So actually, this one's not so sad. It just would have been devastating without all the cartoon logic. Meta Knight versus Sephiroth. If this were a physical fight, there would be some room for debate. But Meta Knight isn't the type who would agree to a luck-based game, especially with someone as ruthless as Sephiroth. With a cooler head and an even more disciplined mind, Meta Knight cuts through this round.
Player, you have been eliminated.
And that leaves Ridley without a team, which in turn means that he's safe from elimination yet again. God help us all.
Only 9 players remain. It's time to move on to our penultimate game, Jump Rope. In this game, players must cross a dangerous bridge while making sure they aren't knocked off by a gigantic double Dutch-style jump rope. They'd best be careful, because the rope speeds up over time, and they only have 20 minutes to cross.
Unlike last stepping stones, there's no reliance on luck here, just sheer agility, speed, and composure. You'll need courage, balance, and good timing to get through this round. People with kind hearts could help weaker players cross, but those with a more mischievous nature could easily sabotage the game to help their own chances. But real quick, let's see who's still standing. Our 9 remaining players are Kirby, Zelda, Mewtwo, Meta Knight, Diddy Kong, Sonic, Bowser Jr., Bayonetta, and Ridley. Now Ridley, being the evil son of a gun that he is, went first and got across before anyone else, and proceeded to act like that one jerk from Season 3 who sabotaged the remaining players. And the sick monster eliminated Diddy Kong and Bowser Jr., and nearly Sonic. That was until the blue blur sped past him at the last moment.
Players eliminated.
With Ridley distracted, the other players, mainly Kirby and Meta Knight, were able to get through very easily, and once Bayonetta crossed the line, she decided to stop playing fair and sent the space pirate captain to his well-deserved doom.
Player, you have been eliminated.
6 players remain.
It is now time for the final round. Prepare for our final game, Squid Game.
This game is designed for at least 4 players with at least 3 eliminations. Players press a button on each tower to begin the round, after which they'll have a set amount of time to push at least one living player off the tower. Once a player is pushed off, the others may move to the next tower. However many players are on the final circle-shaped tower at the end, after at least one player is eliminated, will be crowned the winner or winners of Squid Game. The remaining players can either depend on diplomacy to decide which player to gang up on, or they can just jump into a full-on brawl and see how things turn out. Starting with the square tower. Now, this is an interesting lineup for the final round. We've got Kirby, Meta Knight, Zelda, Mewtwo, Sonic, and Bayonetta. The safest character in this round is Mewtwo, who would be able to tell if the other players were planning to take him out of the competition. The crafty Bayonetta suggested they draw lots, but Zelda was wise enough to know not to fully trust her, so the princess held the lots and allowed everyone else to draw. Unfortunately, the random number generator decided it was Meta Knight's time to fall. Being the honorable guy he is, he embraced his fate, so hopefully he's got some invincible candy on him.
Player, you have been eliminated.
So now we move on to the triangle tower. As the final 5 moved on, they knew it was time to get serious. Mewtwo planned to quickly take the remaining players, except whoever was the strongest, out of the running. He figured he'd target Kirby first. His carefree attitude suggested that he couldn't be that powerful, right? Well, even if Mewtwo had been right, Bayonetta had grown a soft spot for a little Kirby, and punched Mewtwo off the stage in his defense.
Player, you have been eliminated.
So it all comes down to the final circle tower. Even though Kirby would probably be nice enough to sacrifice himself, Bayonetta wouldn't be letting that happen. That leaves us with Sonic and Zelda on the chopping block. While both of them would be willing to make a noble sacrifice, we feel like Zelda is the most likely to go through with it.
Player eliminated.
She's characterized by the wisdom that comes with being a perpetually reincarnated goddess, and we feel like she'd acknowledge that this deed was for the greater good. Thank you again, Private Internet Access VPN, for sponsoring us today. Make sure to go to piavpn.com/oneupbinge to get an 83% discount on PIA VPN, and they'll even throw in 4 months for free.
With that, we have our winners. Congratulations to Kirby, Bayonetta, and Sonic for surviving the Squid Game. And Kirby, go visit Dedede and Meta Knight in the hospital with some food. You've got the money for it now.